Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon. You guys have tackled the easiest thing on the planet, peace. You know, I so wanted to be here today because if there's something in our culture right now we need a lot more of, it's peace. Peace is a lot more than the absence of conflict, though starts with that. But it's also commitment to values and ideals that can help shape a community. Martin Luther King, for example, was an apostle of nonviolence. He made a lot of people angry in his time. Really riled them up. He was an apostle of peace. He favored vigorously a peaceful change in our society, for which he gave his life. Violence was attracted to his peaceful message, not by design, but because not everybody bought into it. Peace is not an easy product. It's a very difficult product because it requires us to do a lot of self-examination. What are your biases? You just saw in the Congress where I work a big debate about bias, about hate, about speech that can be harmful even if that wasn't your intention. It required some of my new colleagues to examine their thinking and how they express themselves about other people. And that words have power. Power to do good, power to create harm. Peacemaking has to be a lifetime commitment. And it always requires you to engage in self-examination about your own biases, your own words, and how you handle conflict when faced with it. Our society has gone in the opposite direction in terms of public discourse. If you watch some television, cable programs, you hear a lot of hate speech. With impunity, whole cadres of human beings are characterized negatively. And millions of people hear that and see it. What must be that impact? How do we counter that? The President of the United States engages in it. Characterizing Mexicans, characterizing Muslims, characterizing people crossing a border. And when you do that, you empower those who hate. You certainly aren't making peace. And so, making peace also requires us to get politically engaged. Not on a partisan basis, but to help make things better. And you have that power. After the massacre at Parkland High School in Florida, those high school students got involved. They didn't just mourn. They got active. And in many ways, those high school students single-handedly have changed the debate in this country about guns and about violence. Your activism, your involvement today can be transformative. It starts maybe in a little way, but you never know the effect it may have on others. You can change hearts and minds, while you're also making sure you change your own. I served in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and when I was a young person, I served on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as a staffer. And I traveled to over 100 countries. I've seen civil war. I've seen conflict between nations. I've trudged through places that were destroyed by conflict. They were dangerous. I can remember the civil wars in Central America, driving from the airport to downtown in El Salvador and actually seeing bodies that had been dumped by right-wing terrorist organizations from the cars on the side of the road. I walked in Lebanon through villages that had been destroyed because of that conflict, where it was not safe to walk because there were still cluster bombs on the ground. And the village was uninhabitable because of the detritus of war. How do we reward the peacemakers? How do we shore them up? How do we try to end conflicts? And it starts with one person, your commitment. A few days ago, I met with a young, well, actually not a young woman anymore, woman probably in her 40s or 50s, from Yemen. A Muslim woman who is trying to bring attention to the conflict in Yemen, which gets not enough attention. A terrible war is going on there, and some of the parties to the war are indiscriminately killing civilians and children, cutting off food aid. It is estimated that as many as 80,000 children will have died from malnutrition and starvation because of this war. Millions of Yemenis are refugees from their own country. And this woman is an advocate for peace. She runs a nonprofit. She goes back to her country periodically, which is very dangerous because neither side appreciates what she's doing. She's courageous. And she's not angry, which I think is one of the important parts. Sometimes we have to get angry about something. But long term, if we're going to be peacemakers, we have to radiate inner peace, confidence in our message, and a willingness to reach out and try to reconcile parties to conflict. And that requires a special kind of character and skill set. And this woman had it. And I thought to myself, you know, everything looks terrible right now for Yemen. But if this woman has other people in her country who are like her, then Yemen has hope. There is hope in this conflict. She's a peacemaker. And it's important to give her a platform. So what you're doing today is not just an academic exercise. It's not a good thing to do, though it is both of those. It's also something very profound that the world desperately needs. And you can be a change maker as you decide on your future. Believe it or not, you have the power as an individual to change minds and change hearts. And that's my hope for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. It will make a difference.